Hey, what's going on, everybody? BDF44 coming at you in another video. All right, so the Denver Nuggets get the Lakers 110-99 in their building. Um, Lakers get their fourth straight loss to start the season, and yeah, man, I'm not angry like I was at the end of the last game, but it is kind of a copy and paste as it pertains to my enthusiasm about our guy King James. More of the same. Whatever I said in the last game, just copy and paste it here. I just don't have the energy to be that angry. Same thing. 8 turnovers, uh, 2 out of 8 3-point shots when your team is shooting 26% from the three. I don't I don't know what type of leadership that is, man. I'm of the mindset that when your team is lacking a lot, you have to try to figure out what it is that your team is lacking and then not take it from them further. Like, that's a big part of being a part of the solution. It's not just about all of the wonderful things that Braun does, but also not taking away from the team just in very, very obvious ways. And sometimes when you're thinking about a million different things, sometimes it's the very thing that's in front of you that seems to escape you. My mom used to say, if it was a snake, it would have bit me, in regards to something that would be hidden in plain sight, there for her to see, but for whatever reason she overlooks it. It's that kind of thing when it comes to Braun. He's paying attention to all this different other stuff, but like the most obvious thing, it's not coming around. Your body language affects others. Guys get anxiety about being on the floor with you, so when you look them off, that crushes their spirit, and they're going to continue to make mistakes. It's the type of thing that when you're that type of leader, you got to be cognizant of, and your body language has to represent an understanding that if I slouch, it's going to affect their confidence, because my opinion is going to matter that much. Not only to them, but to the people around them, so therefore I got to keep my confidence high about them. And that's why it's like the responsibility of the king, the crown, is so important, because you got to understand a lot of things that the others just don't have to understand. There's no reason for them to even consider those things, but you got to be able to understand their point of view as well. And it's like he getting frustrated, man. 20 years of this, his body's tired, his mind is tired, he got other interests, his kids getting grown, he's got other things going on, the team's not winning. It's like he looks around, the team's not talented, and he's just not up for it. I don't know that he ever was up for this, because it seemed to me that he was always looking for opportunities to get away from this type of thing, but for some reason always finds it nevertheless. Um, this is why Kevin Durant went to Golden State, y'all. I mean, let's just be honest. Everybody killed him for going to Golden State, but this is exactly what he was trying to avoid. This very type of thing that he and both Braun are faced with in 2022, which is teams that just aren't good enough to keep them in situations where the game is beautiful to play. It's not beautiful to watch. It ain't beautiful to play. And these are some of the best players to ever play, but because of the structure of things, here they are in empty situations. So that's what you have here, man. He's just reflecting that reality. And it's unfortunate because the sport itself still needs to be played on the floor. So there are things that can make it so that this team is better, but he just ain't up for it, man. He ain't up for it. He's doing things that make, he's doing the things that come naturally to him. He's getting his assists, he's getting his rebounds, he's taking his shots. He'll get the steals. Certain things come easy to him, man. I see it. Here's the steal. All right, here come the ball. All right, you can move in this direction. It's like certain stuff it's not hard for him to accumulate production on a basketball floor as one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player. But it's about the little things, the very little things that affect how others behave around him, that he's supposed to be not only in control of, but the master of, as one of the greats of the game. And so when I look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and I see his whatever this energy is around LeBron, and I look at this trait that I'm detecting right here, I have to see that there's a difference between the two animals. You know what I mean? I gotta see there's a difference there. And I look back on moments when LeBron James and Kobe Bryant on the All-Star game, and when Kobe was trying to force LeBron to shoot the ball, go do whatever it was he was trying to get him to do, but Kobe was trying to urge him on, go for it. This is what they would talk. This is the energy in Braun that they were trying to reach. This is who they were trying to get him to not be so that he could win more. You know, and it starts with him just controlling these things. These things, man. He's great at making people understand his leadership after the game when it's time to talk. You know what I'm saying? He knows what to say. The body language is good at the press conference and all of that. But on the floor, everybody says he always makes the right play. I'm telling you, I'm watching him. He don't have a mind right now to make the right play like that. The way everybody used to say he used to do it in Miami. Nah, man. He tired of that. I think he's just tired of what he's looking at. I'm telling you, it's a lack of belief. And I ain't seen this out of him in a while, man. But I think about the thing that I didn't witness, which was the Dallas debacle situation where, I don't know, man, maybe he clammed up. I don't know what it was. But I just know it's something missing, man. For him to be the number one guy, I'm gonna say something, and I'm just feeling it, and I'm shooting from the hip. I think LeBron James is not the greatest player of all time because he's held himself back in some ways. I don't think Michael held Bron back. I think Bron held Bron back. I think Bron was in control to be even greater than he was, man. Because when I look at moments like this, today, and the last game, I'm like, bro, I know you could have went left when you decided to go right in certain situations as it pertains to your body language, as it pertains to certain possessions where you just threw the ball away. You just didn't want to do it, man. And it's okay to not. But that is the difference. You know what I'm saying? That's why that guy is going to be number one as opposed to you at number two. Because at the end of the day, the greatest, there's no question about that trait. That trait is not there because they're too busy destroying everything. They emaciating the field so that there's nothing left. So that whatever that weakness is wants to keep something around so that everybody likes them. So that, you know what I'm saying? It's like a trait as if you want to share, you know what I mean? And as long as it's that, you're never going to quite be happy because you're going to want to see the game be played a certain way. You're not going to want to drag a bunch of guys who ain't no good. A guy like Michael, he going to drag them dudes. A guy like Kobe, drag them. He going to drag them because he's not letting them affect how the world views him. He going to shoot 100 shots before he lets a scrub brick a shot and cost him a game. And that's why we had an 81-point game where we beat the Toronto Raptors or something like that. It's because that will was not to be stopped by anyone. And we knew when we went up against a guy like Dwight Howard who was laughing and they didn't have a chance against our guy because he wasn't about no doubts. He wasn't about no lacking of focus, no I'm going to throw the possession away. Nah, he understood the importance of what it is that he needed to do to take the other team and shove it completely down their throats. And they were going to understand they had no chance against him. And that's what I want from Bron. It's like, bro, you are more gifted than some of them dudes. But you are not willing to take it to the opponent. You're too busy fighting with the refs. You're too busy thinking about other things. You're too busy looking at your teammates and all of that stuff don't matter, bro. When you got the talent you got, you need to go out and get 70 on these guys. I don't care if the referee's calling the whistle because I'm looking to convert on every possession. Ain't no calls. See, LeBron James, in my humble opinion, what was missing from him was being able to play on a court where nobody ever called no fouls. If he grew up in an environment where they never called any fouls, he would be nothing to stop him. Nothing. Because he would never look at the referees in any situation. He would get his butt back down court and play defense and get it back in blood. That's the difference between Bron. He's used to people giving him stuff. And I don't mean that off the court. I mean on the court. Give me the call. I'm going to get it. What, flopping and all that stuff. No. That's what went wrong. Growing up in the era where flopping was acceptable, where certain things were acceptable. No, no, no. Bron needed that hardcore discipline so that they could shake all that off him. Say no, you got to push through. They ain't never gonna call it. Ain't even no referees in the room, and you're gonna have to use your strength and your abilities to not only do it on the offensive end and the defensive end. I promise you. If he would have grew up in that environment, he'd be twice the player he even is now. Because half the times when he plays break down is because he's distracted because somebody didn't give him some. I kid you not. 9 out of 10 times, he's pissed off because he didn't get a call. Or he's pissed off or he's frustrated, distracted because 3 plays ago somebody didn't do something. It's like, nah, none of that, bro. They ain't never going to help you unless you lead the way. And once you start shaking off all of that, when you start shaking off all that I'm talking about, boy, them players around you going to run through a wall for you. They're going to have more confidence in themselves. What I saw tonight was them lower their shoulders when he started throwing the ball away. But he was lowering his shoulders when certain things were happening in the environment around him. And what I'm saying is he got to shake that off. Because what I know about Ron is if they never called any calls, you would make every shot. You would bulldoze over every one of them dudes. See, that's the difference. He doesn't need to Chris Paul and flop and all of that because he was always big and stronger than everybody else the whole time. If he was in the 80s, he would have been a bulldozer. Them dudes would have been flying off of him. That's the thing. Some of them dudes that say, oh, in our day, he would have. In their day, he would have been the toughest dude. Because he would have been the most physical and strong dude. And the fastest dude. And the best dude. And you see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a mentality thing, man. It's a mentality thing. And that's why I want to see him attack. You know, I look at Russell Westbrook, I say, it's a mentality thing. You got to be willing to put aside your ego. You got to kill that inner ego so that you can do what's best for you, so you can be what's best for a team. If not this team, a team. He ain't that much different than Bron. It's just an entirely different way of showing it. It's an entirely different thing. But it's the same thing. If I'm, without expressing it better, you just got to react to what it is. The changes that you're going through. Father, time comes, you get tired, but you don't want to walk away just yet. But you just got to do what it takes to be who you need to be today. They ain't going to call the call. Cool. They did call the call for 19 years and now they don't want to. Fine. But what's hurting you isn't the fact that they ain't calling the calls. It's the fact that you ain't getting back on D. It's the fact that you allow those calls to shake you off your focus. And I'm telling you, if he goes back at all the different plays, every last one of them damn plays where he was putting his hands up looking at the refs, he will notice that a lot of times the mistakes that he makes comes after that, after those moments. So he's frustrated. Things start to domino effect after that. Once his body language starts going around, go back and check some of his teammates, especially the ones that aren't super talented. They start slumping. They start getting jittery. They start missing free throws. I mean, I'm telling you, it starts with him. He's the hub. But I don't know that he fully knows how to make it so that he's the stable piece, so that everything around him can be stable no matter what. You feel me? Like, that's a very unique trait. You got to just have that. And that's why I always say he needs a leader in place. It's not that he's not a leader. It's just that there's a different type of trait that needs to be there in order for things to function properly. You know what I mean? And you can't assume that just because a guy, just like they say with KD, although I've never had KD on my team, so I can't speak to this, but they say the same thing about KD. Just because a guy's the most talented dude doesn't mean he necessarily has to be the vocal leader. Doesn't necessarily mean he has to be the leader on the floor. He just has to be the most productive ball player. I don't think that about Bron at all. I don't think that. I think he has a lot of leader in him. But he too needs that centerpiece. Somebody that's going to both light a fire under him and then somebody who's going to remind him of what it is I just been saying for the last 14 minutes. Like, your body language, brother. It can be the difference between wins and losses. It can be the difference between a teammate being a +7 and a -14. I kid you not. I'm watching it. So he needs to get that under control, or it's going to continue to cost him victories. I'm telling you, bro, I understand certain things about leadership. I understand certain things about just how teammates react to you. I understand how people, especially when you got a certain type of circus around you, how people's anxieties tend to increase when your presence is there. Because we saw that whole movie with Kobe. Being a Laker fan, we seen guys not be able to play with Kobe. We seen guys have the jitter when they be on the floor with him. That's the thing that LeBron got to understand, and any other stars that's come here. We've seen a lot of different type of stuff that's very unique to the type of talent that we've had and the success that we've had. Guys that can't make a layup because Kobe's on their team. Real talk. So it's like Bron needs to just understand, man. You're in the right place. You're in the right place, but you got to do things a certain way in order to keep the respect of the people here. And while we appreciate you've won a championship, right now, you're letting us down by not valuing every possession and not remembering what it is that you're supposed to be respecting when you put on our uniform. It ain't just about playing basketball and doing things in a, in a way that just says, I got my stats, I got, we represented ourselves with our mouths well, and now we can go home. Nah, you got to really value what you're doing, man. Even when it's not the greatest environment. Especially if the understanding is that you created or helped create that flawed environment. I'm not saying I think Bron's about to quit, as in cut and run. Maybe he decides he doesn't want to be in this situation. I don't know. But what I'm saying is I don't anticipate him quitting. But what I see is a version of that while moving, while running. You understand what I'm saying? A version of that while being engaged in the sport, but not quite being with us as it pertains to doing what you need to do to win the basketball game. And that's what I gathered out there tonight. I think he looked at some people around him that he didn't quite believe in, and he gave us what it is he felt he wanted to give us. And it ain't all on him, but it is at the same time, because he's literally the GOAT. So it's like, nah, man, nah. We could talk about numbers of the game tonight. Jokic had a nice game tonight. I don't even think about no numbers, man. I'm really not. When I think about this game, this particular game, it was just about lackluster effort, lackluster energy, lackluster game plan. And then I look at players like Max Christie, who come in and immediately get a rebound and an assist in the garbage time. Or a guy like Wenyen Gabriel, who finally gets in with like 1 minute and 30 seconds to go and immediately gets a stop. It's like, coach, you're playing the wrong people, bro. Like, you look at Walker. I love what he did slashing at the bucket. But brother, 1 for 6 3-point shooting? I mean, between him and Bron, it's like they don't understand that we can't sustain. I saw a couple 1 for 3s, a couple 0 for 4s. That is why. That's why we can't sustain your 2 for 9 or 2 for 8 and your 1 for 6 or whatever it's going to be. It has to be everyone being accountable for their own 3-point attempts. Rebounding. We're getting beat on the boards every night. I get it. We're slim on, we don't have Thomas Bryant. We're missing some rebounders. Obviously, Russell Westbrook. We're missing rebounders. So I'm not going to kill us for not, necessarily winning the board battle. Obviously, you're going up against Jokic. Look, give AD his credit. He had 14 rebounds, so definitely he was not any part of the problem at all tonight. But we just got to crash the boards a little harder. I look at a bunch of players who had a lot of minutes, and I'm like, 1 board here, 2 board here. It's like, no, we got to team rebound a bit better, fellas. Especially if Russell Westbrook is not out there. One of the things that we can honestly say is he definitely helps pulling the ball off the rim. So we got to make up for that when we don't have that piece out there. So it's just little things, struggles. Kendrick Nunn, God bless him, man. I just continue to see struggles. I don't know, you know. Um, Progress does not come overnight, and I hope that with certain things, certain mistakes that players are making, we can see some ways to improve them in the film. That's really what it's all about, It's about the coaches getting these guys into practice and just taking some of these things that we see from games like this and then just working them into the equation. But you know what you're going to see in games like this, and it's going to be very awkward. It's going to be very awkward. But you're going to see LeBron James make a lot of mistakes. That's what you're going to see. Truthfully. If I'm being completely and utterly honest with you, you're going to see bad shot selection from the players around him and him just doing a lot of things that just bad shots. I mean, you figure you miss 6 threes and you have 8 turnovers. So, I mean, how many possessions is that, man? What are we talking about? So when you consider that nobody else outside of him and Kendrick Nunn had more than 2 turnovers, what are we actually talking about? Kendrick Nunn had 3, Braun had 8. Nobody else had no more than that. What are we talking about, man? I look at my team, we shot, what was it, 8 of 31 or something like that. It was somewhere around that, 8 of 30 maybe. So we brought our 3-point shooting down. So I'm okay with the progress in terms of us limiting our 3-point shots. We're gradually coming down. We're trying to find a sweet medium for ourselves. And I think that's a smart way to go. I have skipped all of that and just said, let's get down to 18. And I have a strange feeling that the team is going to find that sweet medium is somewhere between 16 and 18 3-point shots based on the percentages and the way that others are shooting around, the rotations that we're putting on the floor. But I think we can do better by going more so to Matt Ryan like we did tonight. I thought he was a very good weapon. And don't look now, but Austin Reeves' 3 is falling. Do not look now. His 3 is splashing. He hit 2 of them tonight. He hit 2 of them in the last game. So starting him proved to be a good thing for ourselves, I think. Although he's going to have to work on his handle if he wants to be a ball handler, in my opinion. He's going to have to get better at dribbling the ball. There was too many situations where his ball handling was a little iffy. And you want the ball in your hands at an NBA level to the degree that he's asking for it, that's going to have to be a drill run, and he's going to have to work with some guys that are just going to help him get a lot better at that. And when he does, I trust him with the ball in his hands to make great decisions. So I like how him and Braun play off each other. I think it's more than obvious that those two need more playing time together. LeBron James is a much, much better running threat, slashing threat when he has a guy like Austin Reeves to get him those passes in rhythm. Easy buckets are always great for Braun. So these are the type of things that I'm looking for us to do. I look at Anthony Davis. He hurt his back again. He bulled through it. I'm very, very proud of his effort in trying to fight through these injuries. Okay? This man is not allowing himself to check out these games. And look, I'm not above the mentality of people who are saying, yo, it's all in his mind. It's not as bad as it actually is. Maybe he's just, he's overthinking or whatever. All the more reason to applaud him for fighting through it. Regardless, very happy with how he's doing this. And I think he's going to continue to be happy with himself as he continues to see that his body can react to some of this punishment. But there's a balance to be had. Continue to be honest about what's going on with your body. You do not have to cap about your health. I can't stress that enough, AD. If it's right, it's right. If it ain't, it ain't. We'll deal with it when we cross that road, but I don't want him lying to us about it like he did that wrist. That hurt us ultimately. Speaking of which, Juan Toscano Anderson had somebody roll on his ankle and a little freak little kind of thing. Hopefully he'll be okay, but there was a thing about that. We left him in the game. And when we left him in the game, he picked up a quick foul and he was kind of a liability on that specific play. Not really upset about that, but it did allow me to kind of bring it up a different point. When we do see players get hurt, I think there's a balance to be had there too. Leaving them on the floor is fine because you don't want that thing to swell up. So that's why I'm fine with it. But the other end of it is they can become a liability when they get hurt. So we gotta find a sweet medium to understand that, when a guy gets hurt, immediately, even though you want him to tough through it, immediately he becomes a defensive liability. So we got to keep that in mind at all times, in all walks of basketball. You can have your guys stay out there, but you better know if the other side is thinking quickly, they're gonna attack them. So that's just something I know for a fact. So yeah, where were we at with this? Patrick Beverley, I'm telling you, we got to play him in spurts, man. That whole starting Patrick Beverley, leaving him out there for long periods of time is not going to work. It's just not. I like Pat Bev, and I know he can help us. It's not even about that. He can still lock people down. People are still not scoring on him very much, even to this very second. They're not. But his jumper ain't fail. And, he's just limited out there, man. He's a small guy. He's not an athletic person, so we got to put him in spots where he can do certain things. And until that catch and shoot is working, it's hard. It's hard to get anything out of him on the offensive end. So we need to use him as a specialty player, no different than we would use Matt Ryan in terms of a specialty player himself. Use him often, but where you need to, not just as you would play a regular starter or as you would play a regular role player necessarily. Now you got to put them in when you need them, and you got to use them, in key areas. Because I think a guy like Matt Ryan could really help us. He really helped us out in key situations, but we know he's also going to be limited in terms of defense and stuff like that. So we can't just run him 20, 30 minutes just because we don't have no three-point shooting out there. So I kind of look at playing Patrick the same way, which is why I think we should keep Scottie Pippen called up. He should have been stayed called up because he can kind of do some of the things that you want Patrick Beverley to do on the defensive end. He can hound people and stuff like that. You can get a little more out of him physically, and he's very strong. So I just think the Lakers are missing opportunities. I get it. They probably want to send him down to the G League to get more minutes, which is something I totally support. But on a night like tonight, thought we could have used him. So, it is what it is. I don't know that the Lakers could have won this game a whole lot of ways, to be honest with you. There was just a lot of stuff going on that I just felt like the Denver Nuggets, first of all, left us hanging around. They let us tie the game up at halftime, and then they pulled away and ran it all the way up to 18, and then let us come all the way back. It was like, they were kind of just toying with their food as it pertained to us. And even then, it didn't feel like we were ever that close. I just never really even believed the team believed that they were in the game at any point. Even when it was tied, I didn't actually think the team felt that they were really doing anything. And I've laid into Bron, so to speak, said everything I had to say about it, but that's what I saw, man. It was a lot to it, and like I said, you look at his stats, his defensive stats, his assists, his rebounding. He contributed plenty. But I just look at the surrounding talent that we have on this roster, and I just say we are not talented enough for him not to be intent on every possession. And some of those shots, some of those turnovers, they just did not have to happen. They just did not have to happen. So that's really where I'm at with what I saw there. And his plus minus wasn't the worst. You look at guys like Austin Reeves. Who else was it? Walker, AD. Their plus minus was much worse than Bron's. This is going to sound strange. And I'll just accept that I sound like a hater when I say this. But I'm telling you just exactly what I saw. I think those guys' plus minus was really, really bad because of the stuff that Bron was doing while they were on the floor. Because if you look at a guy like Austin Reeves, you look at his fouls, he didn't have any. Look at his turnovers, he didn't have any. You look at his shots, he hit most of them, 3 out of 4. There was nothing else to his game. But he has a horrible plus minus. Where was the negativity he contributed to? it had to be something that the overall team was doing while he was on the floor, and what point in time he was subbed into the game for which the score was at a certain point. It stayed that way while he was on there. So it's like, did he really do anything that would contribute to losing, or is this plus minus just affected by other people? And so it's like I don't know, but I'll tell you what I saw. I saw people making mistakes while he was on the floor. That's what I saw. So I don't know. I leave it up to smarter people. But I'm proud that the Lakers only lost by 11 points when you consider the altitude. I think that had to do with some of what we saw. Guys were definitely gassed, but it seemed like the other team was more gassed than us. Jamal Murray was huffing and puffing. They had other guys puffing and puffing. Got to give a lot of credit to Bruce Brown before we get up out of here. Obviously, he was the guy who just killed us in the first half with a bunch of threes, and then had some highlights in the second half to cap it off. So I told you guys in the pregame video that this dude would be somebody I thought would be a problem. And he was. He definitely was. So you got to give him credit. He's just going to continue to get better, too. Ish Smith did some good things for them as well. Christian Braun, we saw him a little bit in the end. KCP gave us a little scare, man. Dang it, KCP, you gave us a scare. It's funny because I'm sitting there and I'm watching KCP go down, and I'm realizing it's the Lakers that he had went down with what looked like a pretty serious injury. Luckily, he came back and was all right. But I was like, wow, the fan base that witnessed this injury is actually the fan base that probably loved him the most, because we won with him and had him the most of his whole career. So it's like Denver just got him 5 minutes ago. But, ultimately he's healthy. Hopefully he'll be able to shake that off. That's our NBA champ. So some stuff is deeper than basketball. When you see your guys get hurt, it's like, yo, hold up. Hold on. Now, we didn't sign up for that. We don't want him shooting threes on us, but we also don't want him not 100%. So very, very pleased that KCP is 100%, man. Shout out to the champ. So that's what it is, man. That's where I'm at. When it comes to Laker Nation, we sit up and we see our guys go down, whether they're in our uniform or not. We remember what they did for us. And we can sure use KCP right about now. His three-point shooting, yeah, needless to say, he would help us quite a bit. But, it is what it is, man. Lakers, I thought guys worked hard, I said that I wanted to kind of not get so frustrated with some of the players that I've already laid into. You already heard the negative aspect of it. The opinion is the opinion, you know what I mean? I don't want to continue to lean in. I think there are some players that we have that we could afford to extract for the betterment of what we're doing. I think we could afford to gain some size out there. I think we could afford some rebounders out there. And I think part of our problem is just who we're playing. I need to see Max Christie a lot more, and I need to see Wenyen Gabriel a lot more. And as I keep telling everybody, there are players on our G League squad who really can contribute much more in the ways that we need them to than some of the players that we have right now. And that is not me talking just crap. That is an actual fact. And so I just want our team to smarten up. Like, literally smarten up. It's not that deep. We're 0-4. We're not getting anything out of some of the players that we have down there. And, it's not even about being frustrated. It's about being efficient. What type of organizational decisions are we going to make to preserve our timeline? Are we going to wait till things get out of hand? Or are we going to identify problems early and do something about them? We have not been good at the latter. And what I'm seeing right now is further of the same type of mistakes. So I just, as a Laker fan, am poised to see Jeannie, wake up in the morning tomorrow and do all of the things that I'm hoping need to be done here. Hoping that she understands need to be done here. Sending Russell Westbrook home is of the highest importance. For whatever we saw out there tonight, our team was much more cohesive without him on the floor. Period. For whatever went wrong, we weren't as wrong as we were in the game before. And that's why I'm not as upset. You see my energy is angry? No, it's not as angry. I'm disappointed. I'm holding people accountable. I'm pointing out what I see. But it ain't no anger. The anger comes from him and that bullcrap he pulled in the last game. You remove him, you remove the anger. Now we're just left with disappointment, frustration. You can do frustration and disappointment, but anger? Nah, that's toxic. We got to get rid of anger. So I was happy to see him in street clothes tonight, and may he stay in street clothes permanently. Seriously, enough of this crap. After what I saw in the last game, that's not what I want. I don't want that type of energy around my team no more, man. Seriously. Anyway, so I'm not about being cold and mean to people. I'm not, I want to see Russell succeed in this league, but he has left a very foul taste in my mouth after that last shot. After that last shot, I'm not sure he wants to see us succeed, and that's where I'm at with that. You can't do that kind of stuff and think that I'm about to think, oh, this guy wants us to win. No, this guy don't want us to win, doing stupid stuff like that. No, he don't. This guy is thinking about himself, and he don't like how we're treating him, and I respect that. I respect it. But I'm on the other side of it, so I can't have that costing me wins. Can't do it. That's where I'm at with that. So she gotta see the fruit and send them home, man. Everybody's singing the praises of, the choice that would otherwise be made to do so. So I think that's the move to make to get the applause. I really believe that. So anyway, now as far as everything else is concerned, the Lakers just got to keep churning, man. Like I said, we're eating away at the 3-point volume issue. The more we play, the less we're shooting, and I hope that trend continues. Maybe we'll trot it down to 25 3-point attempts next game and get it up to about 35% shooting. Then we can start having a little more confidence about what we're doing. It's not about overnight change. It's about incrementally getting better from this point. Because when you're a bad team, you cannot expect that you're going to turn into a good team very fast. No, it has to break. Your whackness has to break off of you very, very slowly a lot of the time. Especially when you're dealing with players that don't really know each other, don't know the system that they're playing, and the coach is still learning what he should and should not do in terms of the roster. That's where I really need growth to take place, though, man. I hate to apply pressure on a rookie of any kind in any walk of life, but for what our timeline is, growth is important. Quick and good decisions are important from our coaching staff, and I'm just not loving the strategy, brother. Darvin, I'm not loving the strategy, bro. Kendrick Nunn is really struggling. really, really struggling. And Max Christie, while he struggles too with some of the same thing Kendrick does, Max can help us in more areas defensively, and Max can help us in more areas rebounding the basketball, and that is where we're really hurting right now. We have got to crash the boards. If you would have gave Max, say, a good 18 minutes tonight, I'm pretty sure Max would have gotten you about 6-7 boards. Those are 6-7 boards we really, really need. Now, Max probably would have missed the same amount of shots. Probably would have took some very bad shots. But I think Max's length would have probably helped us against some of those wings that they were dealing with out there. So he's a big player, man. And then Wenyen Gabriel, obviously. When you see what was going on out there with Size, who playing Patrick Beverly, and they were shooting over him, playing, Kendrick Nunn shooting over him, Walker shooting over him. And you forget the fact that you have an athletic 6'8" guy who moves very well. Like, in Wenyen Gabriel, that's why I told Coach, I'm like, look, we're making a mistake here not believing in that kid. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe they're butting heads or something. I don't know. It might be personality stuff. But you got to put that aside and understand what type of prototype that Wenyen Gabriel is. He's an athletic wing forward who can catch lobs and occasionally stretch it out to the three. He's also very, very good with 50-50 balls. In fact, he's one of the best at 50-50 balls, and he dives into the paint with a certain level of ferociousness and fierceness that gets you easy buckets, sort of like Kuminga. He's one of those guys who can use his athleticism to grab the rim a lot of the time. And because his length is so broad, he's able to get those deflections in key situations that help guys like AD and LeBron James get those 50-50 balls and rebounds that they be missing at the end of these games when he be having AD and Bron down there with 3 guards down there. Situation like that happened again in the fourth quarter tonight, and we did not get the 50-50 ball. And I was saying to myself, if he would have had Wenyen Gabriel in the game, Wenyen would have gotten a hand on that ball, and we would have likely gotten a hold of the possession. It's a difference between getting the possession and not. It's the same thing about playing a guy like Troy Brown. You got to play him, man. You got to let Troy Brown continue to get the minutes he's been getting. If you would have put him down there with Wenyen Gabriel, with Austin Reeves, with Anthony Davis, look at what I'm telling you. That length, and that defensive ability is going to get stops. that's gonna get stops. That 4-man tandem right there is gonna get stops. You put another fifth player in there, probably Bron, because I don't think I mentioned Bron. They're gonna get stops. Okay, so we got to understand that we're going to the wrong players. They're doing things they're prone to do, and then we're getting the results of that. What we need to do is go to players who aren't those guys, and we'll get other results. I promise you. It's literally that simple. Yes, the Lakers have problems, but it's not the problems we think. We're just playing the wrong people. So that's really where I'm at with it, man. I'm encouraged by some of the things that I saw, because once you see guys make mistakes 4 times in a row, you're hopeful that guys will just say, okay, it's time to pull this guy. And that's where we're at with a couple of our players. It's time to pull some of them guys, man. Pull them, replace them with the guys that you used in the fourth quarter, and you'll see the results that you're hopeful to see. Nobody on the team is perfect. All of them need to develop, and all of them need to make mistakes in order to do so. But I have seen more than enough from Patrick Beverley, Damian Jones, Kendrick Nunn. Yeah, those are the 3. I've seen enough, bro. We good. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.